Welcome to Asian ID. Good news has finally arrived, and for fans of modern romance, it feels nothing short of a quiet storm about to break. The much-anticipated urban short drama Secret Love Leads to Marriage is officially set to premiere on March 26 on Tencent Video, starring the increasingly talked-about duo Shen and Haonan's Yiying. With their fourth collaboration, expectations are not just high, they are electric at first glance. The premise seems deceptively simple. A snowy night in Yiying sets the stage for heartbreak. Zhai, the female lead, is abruptly abandoned by her first love, Haonan. It's the kind of moment that leaves a person emotionally stranded, suspended between disbelief and quiet devastation. But just as her world begins to collapse, another man steps forward, Shen, a figure who has silently loved her for 11 long, and instead of confession, he offers her something far more unexpected, marriage. What follows is not a whirlwind romance, nor a fairy tale reunion, but a 4-year contractual marriage that feels cold, distant, and almost transactional on the surface. Two people living under the same roof, bound not by love but by an agreement that seems to serve purposes neither fully explains. Yet beneath that carefully constructed distance lies a truth waiting to be uncovered, one that slowly reshapes everything the audience thinks they understand, because this is not just a story about love. It is a story about time spent waiting, time spent hiding, time spent loving someone who doesn't even know you're there. As Zhai navigates the pressure surrounding her, her ex-boyfriend's attempt to rekindle what was lost, her family's expectations, and the relentless noise of public judgment, she begins to notice something unsettling. This marriage, which she believed to be an arrangement, starts to reveal cracks. Subtle details. Small gestures. Moments that don't align with the idea of indifference, and slowly, almost reluctantly, she realizes the truth. This was never a coincidence, it was a plan, a carefully orchestrated, deeply personal plan designed by a man who had loved her in silence for over a decade. Shen Haonan's portrayal of Shen is where the drama finds its emotional core. He doesn't play love loudly. Instead, he buries it beneath controlled expressions, restrained movements, and eyes that seem to hold entire conversations without a single word being spoken. His character transitions from a distant, almost calculating businessman into someone heartbreakingly human, a man whose greatest strength is also his greatest vulnerability. His unwavering devotion. There is a duality to Shen that makes him compelling. On one hand, he carries the aura of a classic CEO, cold, composed, and intimidating. On the other, there is a quiet tenderness that surfaces in the smallest ways. A glance that lingers too long. A hesitation before turning away. A moment of silent protection when Zhai is at her weakest, and when he breaks, when the carefully maintained composure finally cracks, the result is devastating. His emotional scenes don't just ask for sympathy, they demand it opposite him. Yiying delivers a performance that is equally layered. Zhai is not written as a passive heroine, and Zhai ensures she never feels like one. At the beginning, she is guarded, shaped by heartbreak, and resigned to the idea that her marriage is nothing more than a mutual arrangement. But as the story unfolds, so does she. Her transformation is gradual, believable, and deeply affecting through subtle shifts in expression and tone. Zhai captures the complexity of a woman learning to trust again, not just another person, but her own emotions. She embodies fragility without weakness, strength without harshness. There is a softness to her that invites protection, yet beneath it lies a clarity and independence that refuses to be overshadowed. Together, Shen Haonan's Hae-in create something rare, chemistry that doesn't feel performed, but lived in, and perhaps that is no coincidence. Having already collaborated in 3 previous dramas, Yiying, Star Wishes, and The Back of the Sun, they bring with them a level of familiarity that cannot be manufactured. Their interactions flow naturally, their emotional rhythms align effortlessly, and their shared screen presence carries an unspoken understanding that elevates every scene they share. This time, however, the stakes feel higher, because Secret Love Leads to Marriage is not just another romance, it is a story built on contrast. Hidden love versus visible indifference. Long-term devotion versus delayed realization. A man who has already loved for 11 years, and a woman who is only just beginning to understand what love truly means. The drama leans into 2 of the most compelling tropes in modern storytelling. Secret love finally fulfilled in marriage before love, but rather than relying on cliches, it reshapes them. The pacing is tight, avoiding unnecessary delays, while the visual presentation, costumes, props, cinematography, adds a layer of refinement that enhances the viewing experience. Even the symbolism is deliberate. Shen's gold-rimmed glasses, for instance, are more than just a stylistic choice. They create a sense of distance, a barrier between his inner world and the outside. It's as if his love for Zhang Ziran has been carefully preserved behind a transparent shield, visible, yet untouchable, and Zhang Ziran herself becomes a reflection of the drama's core theme, growth. She begins as someone shaped by external circumstances, but gradually evolves into a woman who makes her own choices, who understands her own worth, and who is no longer afraid to embrace what she truly feels. As of now, the drama has already surpassed 38,000 reservations on Tencent Video, a number that hints at the anticipation building around it. But numbers alone cannot capture what makes the story compelling, because at its heart, this is a question about love, about intention, and about the fine line between fate and design. He loved her for 11 years in silence. She believed their marriage was nothing more than a transaction, but when every truth is finally revealed, when every hidden emotion is brought to light, what remains? Was this marriage built on carefully constructed lies, or was it, all along, the only honest way two hearts could find their way to each other? Thank you for watching the video. See you again.